Hey everybody, this is Blake here. I actually almost forgot to record this, and welcome to my review of London Has Fallen, the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen. Now, I actually really liked Olympus Has Fallen. It was a nice throwback film to the early 90s style of actioner before the 90s became very PC. But at the same time, it wasn't as cheesy, so it worked as just a modern day action movie as well. Uh, I mean, yeah, it's dumb, but it knew exactly what it wanted to be and was entertaining as such. So when they announced that they planned on making a sequel, I wasn't entirely sure why, because it didn't seem like Olympus Has Fallen was this major hit. I knew it was a financial success, but nothing about it really screamed, this needs a sequel. And the closer it came to its release date, the more worried I became because I never really saw a full trailer for this, or I don't think I have. If I did, it just slipped from my memory. And it just sort of seemed like it was being dumped on us. So I was wary, and then the reviews came in, and for the most part, everybody hated it. And then I saw the movie, and I actually thought it was pretty fun. It's not as good as Olympus Has Fallen. Olympus Has Fallen felt like it was a much more carefully crafted movie. Like a lot more time was spent in writing it, as well as planning all of the spectacle in advance. Here, it definitely was satisfying as an action movie, but the script lacks that wit and charm of the first movie. Uh, Once again, it is totally absurd. You don't really buy that any of this can happen. So you have to be willing to suspend disbelief. You have to just go with it if you want to enjoy this movie. I mean, this makes Olympus Has Fallen look very realistic in comparison. However, it moves at a very fast pace. It's almost non-stop action. I thought the action scenes were very intense and bombastic, but in a way I thought was very exciting. The special effects were very hit and miss. Some of it looked awesome. Um, I loved how large, how just epic in scale this movie was. I did not expect London to get the shit kicked out of it so thoroughly. Um, but then there are other times where the special effects look really cheap. Like there's this one bit where a boat explodes and everything's fucking exploding in this movie. But for some reason, that one on the lake really bothered me. Whereas the one on the bridge I thought looked pretty good. There are some long takes within the action scenes that showcase some really nice choreography. They're very violent. Um, and Gerard Butler is a badass. He is thoroughly convincing in this role. This is a Gerard Butler performance done right. Uh, I also thought he had good chemistry with Aaron Eckhart, who has a more pronounced role this time around since they're together throughout most of the movie. And their banter, even though when the dialogue was being a little too silly or juvenile for my tastes, like at one point, Gerard Butler says, "I was wondering when you were going to come out of the closet," uh, when Aaron Eckhart shows up to actually save the day in that scene, because I guess he was hiding in a closet. I thought that was a bit hokey, but the actors made it work at least somewhat. Uh, on the other hand, though, the dialogue got a bit. Well, the dialogue was just not very good this time around. I thought it seemed like the writers were trying too hard to sound edgy and cool. How they would accomplish this is just by inserting the word "fuck" in every other sentence, and it started to feel very forced to me. The worst line in the movie was Gerard Butler's beating the crap out of this guy, and he says something along the lines of, "Why don't you go back to Fuckheadistan or wherever you're from?" And I was like, "Oh my god, he actually said that out loud." That's very, like I said, very juvenile stuff. Whereas in the first film, I actually liked most of the dialogue, at least when it was trying to be cool or funny. Uh, And another thing, this time it seemed like Gerard Butler is just a straight up sadist. And it made me a little uncomfortable at times. Like in that same scene, he slowly like stabs a guy to death. And in the first film, like there was something gratifying about his ruthlessness. When he stabs a dude in the throat, and then later on, they ask if he spared the other guy, and he's like, "Why don't you ask me a serious question?" I liked that kind of stuff. It made him just more badass. Here, though, it's like, okay, this guy probably should not be in a position of power. He's enjoying this a bit too much. And the bad guys, like, yeah, they're evil, and that they obviously killed a lot of people in these attacks. Probably more so than the villains of the first movie, but I honestly felt kind of emotionally detached from them. There's just not enough time spent on them being sadistic bastards. With the Korean guy from the first movie, yeah, he was a cold son of a bitch, and they made the movie draw attention to that. So when he is beating up some chick, you just really hate him. And here, you never really spend enough time with the villains to build up that hatred. So when Gerard Butler finally comes across them and gets his vengeance, you don't really feel that catharsis. Even though like their acting's fine, and I liked some of the ideas. Like one of the villains is sort of presented as being the evil counterpart to Gerard Butler, and that he's very difficult to kill. But they just didn't go far enough with that. Also, this movie gets kind of sidetracked when it comes to these various supporting characters and subplots. There's this chick in MI6 who apparently has a history with Gerard Butler, and that just seemed kind of superfluous and underexplored. There are other bit characters whom I presume are there so that there is some mystery because you know that there is a mole. But all of it just still kind of felt underdeveloped, so where you don't really care when you do learn of that person's identity. And like they spend a lot of time explaining who certain people are. Like these other world leaders show up, and they'll have text appearing underneath them saying, this is the Prime Minister of Japan. And it's like, okay, you spend all that time setting this up only to kill off most of these characters in the next scene that they are in. So did we really need that? Are you underestimating us that much? I could have figured that out on my own just based on their dialogue. Or like when they cut to the White House and the other world leaders such as Morgan Freeman and oh god, I can't think of his name all of a sudden, but the new Freddy Krueger and the guy from Watchmen, Jackie Earle Haley, I think. God, why do I forget about that? He's in the movie for some reason too. And they have to, like, once again, do the same thing where they show a text underneath them explaining who they are. But they're so irrelevant that I just didn't really think that was necessary either. So yeah, the script is pretty sloppy. It's obviously they didn't have a whole lot of time to develop it, or they didn't have a whole lot of interest. But at least the film satisfied when it came to delivering the action scenes. They were just as gritty and over the top as they needed to be, and Gerard Butler is incredibly cool pulling them off. So I had fun. I enjoyed myself. If you did not like Olympus Has Fallen, you will not like this. And even if you did like Olympus Has Fallen, you'll probably agree that this is the inferior movie. It just comes down to how inferior it is to you. I've heard people like it, and I've heard fans of the first one dislike it too. So this is only my opinion, but I do think that it's worth watching if you did enjoy Olympus Has Fallen. But maybe you should just wait till it comes out on DVD. I don't think you should pay a lot of money to see it. But it's up to you and your relationship to the first film. I don't mind that I saw this in theaters because I really did like Olympus Has Fallen. So once again, it's up to you. That is all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. I did not do a written review of this, but I have done written reviews of the first two Howling movies. Yes, we're doing the March franchise marathon. And The Howling is the current topic, so I have a lot of fun getting to watch all of those. So please check those out, and I shall see you guys later.